anyway. And that's what the household money is for, as far as period of investment. So I wouldn't worry in that sense about an end of this bull market. I would worry if there is too much money chasing sort of stocks which puts us in a valuation zone which in the past has not sustained. So we look at past, now long-term P's are around 18 times, but when it went to 24, 25 times earlier, it didn't stay at 25 times valuation. So what I would rather be worried about is we don't want a flow-driven bull market which takes valuation into a zone which does not seem sustainable. So I would worry about the nature of that valuation increase than the absolute level of the market.
Okay, one more worry and then I'll open it up, the floor up to questions. Typically what I've seen since 91, 92, I joined the markets in 89, what precedes the end of a bull market is always massive IPOs, massive offer for sales, which suck money out from the market. Almost always some headline issue will make a top at that time. Are we there yet, and does that worry you that at some point the IPO gravy train or the government sale of PSUs will just become too thick for even this bull market to handle?
So one, the government has generally been, not the equivalent seller like a private entrepreneur. They announce their targets well in advance. They give an opportunity to the market to go and short their shares in the futures market, and then raise the money at a slightly, below fair value, if one can say that. And on top of it, they also give 5% discount to retail investors. So my guess is that the government supply will actually act as a catalyst for bringing more investors into the market. They are leaving something on table always for the investors, and which I think is good for bringing in more investors into the market. They'll probably do like what Maruti Suzuki IPO did in 2003 for bringing retail investors into the market. On the private sector supply, clearly regulators have done a fantastic job. They have restricted supply only from quality companies. Of all the IPOs which have come in recent time, you hand on heart can say that yes, they are all great companies. Now they could be coming at higher valuation, that's a separate thing. But from a business point of view, from a business model point of view, they're fantastic companies. So as long as this discretion on quality remains, I think every single IPO will bring more investors into the market.
Miller?
If you look at the IPO that those have happened in the past, I think what you said is unlikely to happen. And the sign of that is that not all IPOs have been simply received the same response. I think investors are far more discerning. Investors want to look through the fine print. They're asking far more questions. And I think I would say to that extent, the advisors, people who sell these products are also more careful about what they and how they sell. So I wouldn't say that every IPO is getting the same response. I think people are looking at value. In fact, in a way, what worries me is the premium on quality in the nature of the companies and the stocks is amazingly high. They are at multiples that we have never seen before. They are at 40, 50, and 60 times earnings. So the premium on quality is one thing that I would worry at the back of the mind a lot. And in a reverse way, an almost perverse way, it looks like, and this is not a nice thing to say, that value lies in less quality. And that can be a little worrying. That can be quite dangerous. But I'm not a believer that every IPO of every kind of company coming to the market is going to get investors' money.
Well, I'll tell you one thing. I agree with almost everything both of you said, except the last part. You have more faith in human nature than I have. The same promoters, the same IPOs are going to plague us a few years down the road. It has always happened for the last 25 years. And I don't think human nature changes in any boards across the world. You'll always have those in the NASDAQ 2000 or Tokyo in 1989, absolute housewives trading stocks, Panwala giving tips, poor quality's IPO coming up. But as these two gentlemen said, that's still a long way to go. So with that, I'll open it up to questions for the floor. Do you find value in this market? And given that broader trend is up, How would you handle corrections, weakness in the market? Nilesh?
If you are lucky, you will get correction. Grab the opportunity. All of us are extremely underweight equity as a whole, and we need to ensure that the ownership of Indian equity remains in the hands of Indians. The market will give correction. That's the nature of the market. Don't lose the faith. Just grab the opportunity. Is there value in the market? I mean, again, there may not be apparent value because overall equity valuation looks at the average level. But if you can forecast or if you can forward yourself to next 2 years, the earnings growth in FY17 will be ahead of our expectation, and that creates value in the market. So grab the opportunity in the market.
Okay, thanks. Milind, there's a question for you. How do you think financial savings market in India would evolve with the number of measures announced in the budget, like focus on pension, things that you've also already mentioned? So how do you think financial savings market would evolve?
I think the first thing that we want to really happen, I hope I'm answering your question as well, is that we saw something very disturbing happen. For a long period of time, we had household savings at around 22%, of which roughly about 12% came into financial asset. But there was a period of high inflation where savers were actually preferring physical assets like real estate and gold. And those assets were actually giving them high returns as well. And the financial asset part of the saving actually came down to as low as 8.7. So the first thing that we need to happen, and it's beginning to happen, because as you see real interest rates move into the positive territory, which simply means that rates are higher than inflation, we are beginning to see financial assets becoming back onto the table for people to choose. So I believe the sort of the rise of financial assets as a part of the savings is already underway. What is more interesting and heartening to note that the under ownership of equity as an asset class. See, what has happened after the election is most people, Ramesh, found that they were under allocated to equity. So we are right now in this huge catch up on equity allocation game, which is underway right now. And right. I think in that respect, I think it's the asset class which is getting the right attention. Maybe it's very late, but it's happening.
Great. Nilesh, any area in the budget that was overlooked in your opinion?
I mean, frankly speaking, that will be function of our over expectation rather than non-delivery from the government point of view. One thing which probably government could have done, and it was part of our big budget ideas, that there is too much of money involved in disputed taxes, and it is unnecessarily resulting into litigation. Can we not come out with a voluntary disclosure scheme for disputed taxes, where the appellant and the income tax authorities or excise authorities or customs authorities just sit across the table and settle the case and save the country from endless litigations? So if they would have introduced VDIS on disputed taxes, one, it would have removed the litigation, created some more money for the government, and the whole country would have moved forward.
Okay. Nilesh, this man has a peak against the government of India. He says, why just make in India? Why not also cultivate in India? Why are we not focusing on agriculture?
One, I'm not an expert on agriculture and my experience is very, very limited. But then I would just like to share an experience, and I'm not disclosing the name of the people, but I was an auditor for a seed company which introduced hybrid seeds in this country. And they had come out with a hybrid seed for BT brinjal. And that's something which is used by them personally. And that invention happened after a lot of effort and a lot of research and a lot of money. And then it was just thrown out because certain NGOs felt that BT foods were not good. But have we done scientific research? Have we done appropriate studies? Why are we throwing away invention of our own company when the whole world is using BT? There are BT corn, there are BT maize which are used in America. Why can't we use BT brinjal in India? So if our approach is such then certainly how can people invest in agriculture? The second thing, and this is again based on my limited experience, but if I see agriculture APMCs, agriculture product market committees, it's essentially restricting farmers to sell its goods for a better realization. The authorities which control APMCs most of the time take farmers for a ride when they are there to sell. If I look at across APMC markets, be it onions in Nasik, be it cotton in Dhangadra, I mean, in all these places, the prices fluctuate like this. So whenever farmer has supply, the prices are low, and when traders have inventory, prices are high. I mean, can we not introduce a model which is better than current APMC? Then people will invest in
Which is
agriculture.
happening, right? Which is now in the process.
Which is announced, but it needs to get executed.
Executed.
So,
Well, here's a question that someone asked for me. What is Ramesh's view on the Sensex? Please throw some levels. So, if Narendra Modi was asked this question, he might say, "Ab ki baar Sensex 50,000." I'm just having a sense of humor here, so don't take it seriously. Okay, the last question. Unless, Milind, for you, unless the government demonstrates execution, will the market start showing disappointment? To summarize the question.
Of course, the market will be disappointed if execution does not follow. No, there's no denying that. The question is, how long should you wait? And I think there's a little bit of maturity required in understanding that no government has a magic wand by which change can happen in months or quarters, as we spoke earlier. So you got to give enough time before some changes, which are quite profound in the way they are being envisaged and conceived, can actually translate to a change in your day-to-day life. So the little danger lies in over-expecting too soon. But if for a reasonably long period of time, if they do not see change, certainly they will be disappointed.
Just to add to the point Milind and Nilesh have been making so forcibly all evening, I think you joined the markets in 91, I joined in 89. Milind, which year were you in the markets?
Well, I joined before 91, but I've been in the fund since we started in 2000.
Anyway, in 89, let's take that a benchmark because my firm celebrated 25 years recently. Index around 600, 800. It's 30,000 today. I mean, that's the power of the stock market. So, we've gone through in the last 25 years, governments falling, Kargil, plagues in Surat, Asian financial crisis, floods. You can name a crisis and it's probably happened in India. The murder of Rajiv Gandhi. And still the Sensex over a 25-year period has moved up from 600 to 800 levels to almost 30,000 right now. Himalayan levels, as I call it. Imagine if we get a good playing wicket, what we can do perhaps. They say finally that there's an old joke someone once told me, that there are two kinds of people in this market. There are people with money and there are people with experience. And after some time, the people with experience get the money and the people with money get the experience. I think you heard the voice of experience today, and I hope you'll use that to make your money in the future. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Mr. Dawani, and there was a great panel discussion when we coined this theme, hype, hope, and reality. We didn't think that it was really going to end in this fashion. Thank you for a very optimistic kind of outlook. So may I now request Lakshmi, Amarnath Reddy, and Raghuraman to facilitate the panel members, please. Okay, right. Yeah, why don't you two come and come. Thank you, and now I'll hand it over to Shyamala. Very good.
Thank you, Mr. Mahalingam. Well, for most of you, you must have known me and grown with us, United Way of Chennai, for 4 years. This is the 4th year that we are successfully conducting this program, and we have grown together. So much so that I have to relate an incident to you, a very humorous incident. So a couple of weeks I was hanging around with a lot of AMCs, you must have seen me, and with Mahesh. And incidentally, when I went to his office one day, there was a person sitting there from another AMC, and he literally ran from there. So he said, oh my God, this lady has come for money. But I'm going to tell you how this money is being used. Every year we kind of share with you all as to how we use this money. We also, from the NGO side and from development sector, we have a real hope for this budget, and then to say that we get more money from you guys so that we use it very optimally and very usefully with NGOs. But one thing I have to tell you that before I start with the 2 NGOs that we are going to fund today, that we are quite, we have a very good due diligence that we do, and we are very conscious about every single pie that we collect from public. And we also make sure that our administrative charges are very much lesser than 10% or nearing 10%, but not more than that. And every beneficiary gets the benefit out of what we collect. So with this, let me have the clipping, please. Yeah, so let me call upon to Dr. Sai, please. Can you come over to the stage? And while I'm calling her back here, let me explain this project that we are doing. This is one of the biggest projects that we have initiated from United Way of Chennai, getting into health. The issue of reducing the infant mortality rate and the maternal mortality rate across Tamil Nadu. What we are doing here with Ekam Foundation and United Way of Chennai, we are kind of training 200 nurses, mentor nurses, so that they could in turn train about 6,000 nurses across the state, so that there are millions of children, babies who are saved. The numbers are going to be reduced, and we are going to have a very stringent monitoring system where we can tell you in numbers after about a year after this whole training goes through. Can I call Dr. Sai onto the stage, please? Come, Sai. Please give her a big, you've got to applaud her, because let me tell you in a word or two about her. She has crossed about 2-3 life-threatening diseases, and she is still alive to save the others, especially the babies, and she's trying to give hope to these babies. May I call Mr. Mahalingam onto the stage to hand over the check? It's about 45 lakhs that we are going to go through to make sure that we save babies in Tamil Nadu. Thank you, Sai. All good wishes for the project. Together we will do wonders. Let's have the next clipping, please.
Swabodhini has a goal for itself. We have a mission, we have a methodology. Swabodhini Charitable Trust, wholly and as a single purpose, manages the special school and the occasional training center of children with autism and developmental delay. Educating and training around 60 children with a focused approach, the school has also got a government recognition in 2000.